Good morning. This is the week 11 of the forensic photography, the very last topic of before our midterm examination. And the topic for today is all about the different techniques and methods used in photography, the ultraviolet photography, infrared, and fluorescence method. Also, I just want to remind you, nakita nyo naman, nakapublish na po yung ating midterm examination, which is on Monday, November 22, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Okay? So, kung tinatanong nyo kung ano yung coverage ng examination, mag-i-start yan after the prelim examination, which is the course unit 7, 9, 10, 11. Okay? 8, 9, 10, 11. So, from course unit 7 to course unit 11. Okay, let's start. So, ultraviolet photography. Tatanungin ko kayo, do we absorb the ultraviolet radiation in our skin? Na-absorb ba natin to? Ha? Can we absorb the ultraviolet radiation? Or natatanggap ba natin yung ultraviolet radiation?
Yes po.
Ha?
Yes po.
Yes, kaya nga yung mga binibili yung pampapahid sa mukha, di ba? Meron kayong anti-UV o UV protection. Kasi nga, overexposure from UV can harm our skin. So, photographs made with ultraviolet radiation can reveal bruises or scars not visible on the surface of the skin. Now, bakit ba tayo gumagamit ng mga special techniques like UV and infrared, ma'am? In order for us to show the different types of evidences that are hidden on our naked eye. So, for example, if we apply or if we use ultraviolet light or radiation in the body of a child, makikita natin yung mga bruises or scars niya na hindi natin nakikita sa ating mga mata. So, in some cases, long after visible healing has completed. Tanungin ko kayo, kapag nabugbog ba kayo? Kapag nabubugbog kayo, ilang weeks yan? Lilitaw sa kamay nyo or sa katawan nyo, yung bugbog or yung pasa.
1 week, ma'am.
1 week or 2 weeks, diba? Yung parang yellow to purple na color. Pero, after that, mawawala na yung pasa. Pati nga yung pain, wala na. Tama? Pero, alam nyo ba na pati yon, kahit wala na yung marka at saka pain, through the use of ultraviolet photography, dilitaw at dilitaw pa rin yan kung saan ka nabugbog or nagkaroon ng pasa. So, this can serve as an evidence of assault, lalo na sa mga abuses, physical abuses. So, ultraviolet imaging can be used to detect alteration of documents also. Ginagamit din natin ang ultraviolet photography when using or when checking the question documents. So, some materials will absorb ultraviolet while others reflect this radiation. So, dalawang bagay nangyayari kapag merong ultraviolet is either ina-absorb nila yung ultraviolet radiation or nagre-reflect tayo from that ultraviolet radiation. So, some have partial reflection. So, these effects can be recorded photographically using an ultraviolet radiation. So, black and white films are sensitive to most wavelengths of ultraviolet by using a filter that absorbs all visible light but passes ultraviolet. If you could remember, meron nga tayong discussion about the UV filter at meron din tayong film na sensitive sa UV. Ayan. It is possible to make photographic exposure with just ultraviolet. Ayan. So, ano ba yung gamit ng ultraviolet photography in the law enforcement? So, here they are. Number 1, try ultraviolet photography after visible light techniques and infrared light techniques fail. So, they use UV photography if after nilang mag-take ng visible light, yung normal flash ng ating camera, ganyan. After that, they will take ultraviolet photography to reveal the bruises or scars na meron tayo sa katawan. Pwede rin ginagamit ang ultraviolet in revealing fingerprints. Ayan. Fingerprints on multicolored surfaces, dust with fluorescent powder or nihydrin. Ito yung ipapowderize natin yung, kanwari, baso, ganyan. Tapos parang kahit, or sa money, sa pera, di ba? Sa tingin nyo ba naiiwan ang fingerprint sa pera?
Yes po.
Okay, naiiwan yan. So, paano po lumilitaw yan, ma'am? So, ipapowderize nila yan. Ayan, using the fluorescent dust or parang tatong dusting. After that, they will use the ultraviolet light to reveal those fingerprints. Kasi kung talagang naked eye tsaka visible light lang, hindi lilitaw yan. But through the use of the ultraviolet light, lilitaw at lilitaw yung mga fingerprints na yan. Also, ginagamit itong ultraviolet for the body secretions such as urine. Ayan, yung ihi nyo, semen, yung mga lumalabas sa mga lalaki, di ba? And perspiration, often glow when illuminated by ultraviolet light. Ito yung mga napapanood nyo sa movies na bit nila yung light na yan. Tapos, doon nila makikita if meron bang mga fluid sa isang kama, if meron bang naganap na rape dito, or ano man ang activity nila. So, many and other valuables can be dusted or marked to identify tips. So, yun ang gamit ng ultraviolet photography. So, ultraviolet photography, photographic necessities for reflected ultraviolet radiation. Again, sabi ko nga sa inyo, ang ultraviolet photography, pwede siyang ina-absorb, pero hindi siyang nagre-reflect. So, paano po nagre-reflect yan? So, number 1, illuminate the subject by means of radiation source that emits ultraviolet. Ayan. After that, exclude all visible light from the camera by placing over the lens a filter that transmit only ultraviolet. So, paano po ba yung reflected, ma'am? Paano ang reflected? Ang reflected, gagamit ka ng device that emits or yung nagbibigay ng ultraviolet radiation. After that, ang gagawin mo sa camera mo, kaya tayo merong UV filter. Diba? Yung mga UV filter, ganyan. So, maglalagay ka ng filter that, na ang tinatransmit lang ng filter na yon sa camera mo is the UV light only. Yan. And then, you need to record the image in the camera on the film. Ganun ang reflected. Always remember, kapag reflected, gagamit ka ng another device that emits. Pag sinabi natin emits, nagbibigay or nagiging source mo ng inyong ultraviolet, and then you will use filter para ma-exclude lahat ng unwanted lights. Ang gusto mo lang na pumasok sa camera mo is yung ultraviolet light. That is reflected ultraviolet radiation. Ayan. So, tingnan nyo. This is the subject. This is the radiation source. Ito yung for example, ito yung nagbibigay ng ultraviolet light. And then, lalagay mo to. Itong filter na to sa camera mo or sa taas ng lens mo. Parang pumasok lang na light sa camera mo or sa lens mo is yung UV light lang. Walang visible light, walang ano, yun lang. That is ultraviolet photography. So, use of reflective ultraviolet photography to photo document bruising to children. Kadalasan kasi, maganda gamitin talaga ang UV photography kapag sa mga abused child. Ayan, ho. Reflective ultraviolet photography records the reflection and absorption of long-wave UV light by the subject matter, excluding exposure by the film by all visible light. So, since UV light penetrates deeper into the skin, sabi ko nga sa inyo, kahit nabubog na kayo, nawala na yung pasa mo, wala na yung marka ng pasa mo, okay? Yung ating UV light kasi, nagpe-penetrate yan or nag-absorb sa skin natin into our deeper layers of our skin. So, therefore, kung ano yung mga deeper na merong pagkabugbog dyan, makikita at lalabas pa din. So, the film will pick up the image by bruise or bite mark. Do you know what is bite mark? What is a bite mark? What is a bite mark? Sige. Anyone? What is bite mark? Ay, nako, section 1.
Yung bakas po ba, ma'am?
Ha?
Yung bakas, yung parang ano po, yung bakas.
Bakas ng alin?
Kagat, ma'am.
Kagat. O, for example, nagigil ka sa jowa mo, kinagat mo yung braso niya, that is a bite mark. Diba yung ngipin niya, mag-i-stay yung shape ng ngipin niya, that is a bite mark. Pero kasi after 1 day or 2 days, mawawala na yung kagat na yan. Tama? Pero alam niyo ba, through the use of UV, makikita at makikita pa rin kung kinagat ka ng tao or hindi. Ayan. Which has been absorbed too deep into the skin to be able to be seen using visible light. So, the time frame to obtain a good result with techniques has never been fully explored, and the earliest time in these photos seem to show any image is shortly after the bruise or bite mark is no longer visible. Kapag yung mga bruise or mga pasa mo or bite mark mo, hindi na visible sa katawan mo, then that is the perfect timing to use the ultraviolet light or reflective ultraviolet photography to show the bite mark location or yung bruises location. So, the longest time in which there is a literature is at least 5 months. See? At least 5 months after the injury po. Ayan, nakikita pa din yung ating bruises sa katawan. So, these photos taken using this technique will not show bruises that are still visible. Look at this one. Kung makikita nyo sa black and white photo niya, wala naman talaga siyang pasa. Pero using the UV photo, look. Meron siyang pasa dito. Sa taas. Dito rin. Wala kang makitang pasa. Pero after that, sa UV photo, lalabas yan. Oh. Ayan. Yan ang nagagawa ng UV photography. Ayan din. Ito, diba? UV photo showing finger mark type bruises. Ayan. The mom confessed to shaking the child. See? Makita mo dito, oh. Talagang merong marka yung fingers nung nanay niya kasi parang inaalog niya yung anak niya. So, that is ultraviolet photography. Do you have any question about ultraviolet photography?
Wala po.
Okay, next. Infrared photography naman tayo. Ano ba ang kinagandahan ng infrared photography? So, natatnan niyo ba yung infrared? Yung bago tayo magka-Bluetooth, meron tayong infrared eh. Natatnan niyo ba yon? Or naabutan niyo?
Hindi po.
Hindi na. So, ganun na ba ako katanda? Okay. Naabutan ko ang infrared. I was just 5 years old noon. So, ang infrared kasi, bago nagkaroon ng Bluetooth, infrared ang sa cellphone ng Nokia noon, kapag di camera yung phone mo, kapag magpapasa ka ng another file, infrared ang ginagamit nila, hindi po Bluetooth. Okay. Infrared photography is the recording of images formed by infrared radiation. So, because infrared radiation is invisible, hindi natin na-absorb yan or nakikita, na-absorb natin yan, nandiyan yan sa paligid natin, but the thing is, hindi naman talaga natin nakikita. So, some special techniques may be needed, but in general, most commonly required methods are simple of those ordinary photography. So, police forcers and members of public safety can use infrared photography for crime prevention and security purposes. Ano po yung ginagamit nila dito? Yung infrared cameras. Do you know what are the infrared cameras? Infrared cameras have the capability to record in complete darkness. So, ito yung kahit madilim na, nakakapag-record pa rin siya. Para siya sa mga CCTV na kahit madilim na po yung mismong kwarto or yung mismong lugar, makakapag-record pa rin siya. So, they are very useful for surveillance purposes. Alam niyo na yung infrared cameras?
Parang yung may ma'am, green yung nakikita mo.
Yes, pwede. Alam mo yun yung sa airport na? Yung sa airport, yung parang mga thermal scanner nila.
Opo.
Okay, so parang gano'n, yung mga infrared camera. So, maganda talaga yan, lalo na sa mga body cameras ng mga polis. Diba may mga body cameras ng polis? Pwede yan, lalo na kung nagro-rotonda sila doon sa madidilim na part. So, that is the best way for surveillance purposes. Yan. Next. So, infrared techniques can be applied in the field or in laboratory environment. So, in some instances, the only opportunity to document the evidence is in the field at the crime scene. Until recently, the only available option to the forensic photographer involved infrared techniques that use conventional film. Yan, sensitive to wavelengths of light in the infrared range. Kaya nga, meron tayong film noon na sensitive siya sa infrared light. Yan. So, digital cameras can be used now in some infrared applications. Typically, digital cameras come from the manufacturer with hot mirror filter or yung UV or IR. Ano po ba yung hot mirror filter or UV or IR? Hot filter installed in the front of the sensor. Anong purpose ng filter na yon? So, the purpose of this filter is to prevent UV light and infrared wavelengths from reaching the sensor. Diba? Meron tayong digital image sensor na ang katumbas niya sa film ay ano ang katumbas ng digital image sensor sa film? Image sensor. Anong katumbas niyan kapag sa film? Ito yung mga sensitive sa light. Ano yon? That is the... What part of that film? Anong part ng film yon yung sensitive sa light?
Negative po.
No. Yung sensitive sa light. Part ng film.
Silver halide po ba,
The
ma'am?
silver halide
Silver
or yung
halide.
ating emulsions. Very good. Yung silver halides natin or yung ating emulsions, diba, sensitive yan sa light. So, ganun din sa ating image sensor. Diba, merong image sensor ang ating digital which is capable of capturing images. So, yung mga image sensor natin yan, nilalagyan nila ng hot mirror filter. Ang purpose ng hot mirror filter or yung UV or IR, ultraviolet or infrared cut filter nila is to prevent the UV light and infrared light from reaching the sensor. Bakit, ma'am? Kasi these wavelengths reduce the quality of color images made in the visible light spectrum. Kasi kapag napapasukan yung mga digicam natin ng UV and IR radiation, ang nangyayari, nagiging fade or parang ang pumapangit yung color. Pumapangit yung color ng ating images. That is why, unwanted yan ng lahat ng mga photographer. Kasi syempre papangit yung quality and tonality ng ating mga images. Okay. So, infrared radiation is found in many everyday light sources. So, nakita yan. In some such as tungsten, photoflood, halogen, and incandescent bulbs, heat generates good deal of the infrared radiation. So, the sun is a natural source of light, but is an irregular infrared source din ang ating sun. The rays shift according to the time of the day. So, a number of alternate light sources po ang meron tayo kay infrared light. So, specifically, developed for forensic applications can be tunable in range of near-infrared wavelengths. Yan. So, saan ba ginagamit? Okay? Saan po ba ginagamit si infrared? Saan mas magandang gamitin si infrared? Kasi dalawa sila ma'am, merong UV, merong infrared. Ano ba? Kailan ba? So, number 1, magandang ginagamit ang infrared light sa question documents. Do you know what is question documents? Mga documents na forged, false documents, or yung mga fake documents. Ayan. So, used in revealing tampered, ito yung mga tinakpan, most especially charred, ito yung mga nasunog na. So, nare-reveal lahat yan. Meron kayong forensic, which is question documents. At dun sa subject na yun, pag-aaralan nyo yung mga different types of writing, ayan, different types of inks, different types of documents, pati yung mga fake documents, pati yung cheque, at saka pera. Kasi lahat yon documents yon. So, ano po pinag-aralan dito? Yung pagkasulat, same ink ba? So, through the use of infrared light kasi, nakikita natin doon kung parehong ink ba yung ginamit nila, kung pinatungan ba yan, kung tama ba yung pagkasulat niya, if binura lang ba yan, yan ang nagagawa ng infrared light. Kaya nga, naunang tinuturo yung photography para ma-apply nyo yung mga technique na yan sa mga different types of evidences. For example, di ba, meron kayong dactyloscopy, yung fingerprint. O, tapos yan, question documents. Ina-apply nyo yung photography doon. Next, meron kayong aerial photography. It can enhance the contrast of the terrain, even in darker areas or coniferous and lighter areas, which is differentiated. Another use of infrared light or infrared photography, the surveillance, kasi nga, it can work kahit na madilim. Then, detection of gunshot powder burns, yan, stains, and irregularities in cloth. Also, detection of certain types of secret writings. Ay, yung mga nakikita nyo sa mga CSI na nakasulat sa wall, then they will use this infrared light and then marireveal yung mga latent writings sa wall. Yan ang ating infrared photography. Ayan. So, again, ganun din, kapag meron tayong reflected photography, again, so, we will illuminate the object or yung subject mo with the infrared source, plus maglalagay ka ng filter sa iyong camera, that is IR or infrared filter, which is capable of allowing the infrared radiation to enter your camera. And, parang dinidisable niya yung visible light na makapasok. Nakita nyo? Tignan nyo yung arrow. Can you see the arrow? The gray arrow, ito, diba nilagyan mo siya ng filter, IR transmitting filter. So, the IR transmitting filter will not allow the visible light to enter your camera, but will allow the energy source or infrared light coming from this one, the red light. Ayun. Ganun ang, tandaan nyo kapag reflected, kahit UV man yan or infrared, they will use filter. Kasi, the only thing gusto ng forensic photographer nun, ang papasok lang, kanwari, UV light lang or infrared light lang. Walang another light, kundi yung mga yun lang. Kasi kung hindi ganoon ang mangyayari, therefore, masisira po Okay? Masisira yung plano nila na i-emit or ipakita yung mga evidences. So, infrared reflected photography can be detected as technique of focusing an infrared image with a camera lens onto emulsions or digital sensor sensitized to infrared radiation to obtain a record of how the subject reflects or transmits the varying amounts of infrared radiation falling on it. Ayan. Ganun din. Kapag naman infrared luminescence, ganun din po siya. Para siyang nagre-reflect din. Parang oblique lang naman. And then, so, given the proper setup, the forensic photographer is now equipped to apply these techniques to specific forensic application. So, the most common infrared photography uses are in document examinations. So, in document examinations, alterations and forgeries can be detected. Differentiating between visibly identical inks and pigments is accomplished by observing differences in the way they transmit or absorb infrared radiation or whether or not they exhibit luminescence. So, infrared reflected and luminescence photography can reveal writing, printing, or other markings under obliterations. What is the meaning of the word obliteration? Obliteration means binura. Okay, binura mo on documents. Give you an example. What can you see in this one, yung sa color brown? The photograph at the left is an altered check. Ibig sabihin, pinalitan yung check niya or dinagdagan. So, the two at right, ito, were taken using infrared reflected with Kodak high-speed infrared film and an 89B barrier filter. Note, tignan nyo. The word 11 in the center image and the letter I in the right image have dripped completely, indicating they are not the same ink as the rest of the document. Na anong nakikita nyo dito sa buong cheque? 1100. Tama?
Yes po, ma'am. Sa kabila po.
1100. Doon sa kabila, wala ma yung
Isang
11. Tapos ito, 1,100. Pero dito ano siya? 100 lang. So, therefore, altered document to. Ibig sabihin yung cheque niya, dinagdagan niya. Ganyan na pinag-aaralan niyo sa question documents. Kung totoo ba yung cheque na yan. O, tingnan nyo. Hindi sila pareho ng, ang ibig sabihin lang yan, hindi sila pareho ng ballpen na ginamit. Okay? Hindi sila pareho ng ballpen na ginamit. Siguro yung nagbigay ng cheque niyan or nag-issue ng cheque na yan, ang talagang binibigay lang niya is 100. Ayan, $100 siguro. And then, itong nakatanggap ng cheque, dinagdagan niya. Ayan. Another example. Ayan. So, ito naman, obliteration. The photograph at the left is a check with obliterated writing on the back side. Ito yung sinulat niya. Ano nakasulat? Del's Grocery for deposit. Ayan. At right is a photograph taken using infrared reflected. So, ganito ang nangyari dyan. Ito yung kahit binura mo na, di ba ugali nyo yan? O, kanwari, susulat mo yung pangalan ng crush mo sa notebook mo. Tapos, hiniram ng kaklase mo yung notebook mo, buburahin mo yan. Diba? Buburahin mo yan. So, alam nyo bang pwede pa rin namin makita yan kahit binura mo na? Ayan. So, ginagamit ang infrared to show kahit na naka super dark na yan, kahit buradong-burado na. Ayan.
Kahit po ba, ma'am? Kahit po ba lapis nun, makikita?
Yes! Makikita. Kung, ito, for example, tignan nyo, 4th Street Station, ang nakalagay ay 5 p.m.
5 o'clock.
Pero ang original, ano siya?
4:30 p.m.
4:30.
Ito yung maganda. Ito yung tinatawag kong chart documents. Pag sinabi kasing chart documents, hindi naman ibig sabihin nun na abong-abo na. Okay? Hindi naman abo. Ito yung mga chart documents. The photograph at the left depicts eligible chart documents. Ibig sabihin, hindi mo na pwedeng gamitin as an evidence. Kasi sunog na siya. But by using infrared photography, makikita mo na kung ano yung nakasulat dyan. Like this one. Diba? The photograph at the right was taken using infrared reflected with Kodak high-speed infrared with an 89B filter. So, the type is rendered legible using this technique. O, diba? Nakita na kung anong nakasulat dyan. Next, another. Ito, black cloth. Kayo, pag nagsusot kayo ng black cloth, anong dahilan nyo?
Para hindi masyadong madumi yan, ma'am.
Para hindi
pangit.
masyadong
Tsaka yung pawis, ma'am.
Hindi makikita.
Para hindi masyadong
O, diba? Ganun ang rason nyo, ba't kayo nagsusot ng black? Depende lang kung favorite color mo ang black. So, pag ba, for example, kumakain ka, natapunan ka ng ketchup, tapos sa color black mong damit, makikita sa color black mong damit?
Hindi po masyado.
So, ganun ang nangyari dito. So, the photograph at the left depicts a black cotton fabric with blood stain. As you can see, dito sa black cloth na to, walang blood stain yan. Hindi mo mapapansin na may blood stain yan. Pero by using infrared photography, ayan, the photograph at the right was taken using infrared reflected and it is rendered with blood stain is readily visible na. Kita nyo? Dito sa hindi mo makikita yan. But by using infrared, kitang-kita na po ang ating blood stain. So, ang magandang kagandahan lang yan, okay? Para mas makita nyo yung differences. Ina-apply natin ng UV light kapag sa mga bruises ng mga bata. Bruises, marks on the skin, magandang gamitin ng UV light. Okay? Maganda rin gamitin ng UV light sa mga pera. Okay? Yung, kunwari, sa mga bangko, di nyo ba napapansin yun? Or sa mga grocery? Yung iniilawan nila yung pera. Nakikita nyo ba yun? Yung parang iniilawan nila, if totoo o hindi.
Opo, ma'am.
So, that
Yes
is
po,
UV.
ma'am.
Yes po, ma'am.
Yung best use ng UV. Kapag infrared naman, tandaan nyo, magandang gamitin ng infrared sa mga dark. Katulad nga ng surveillance, katulad ng mga black cloth, or kahit yung mga tinakpan. And also, yung pag titinan mo yung differences ng ink, doon maganda gamitin ng infrared photography. So, do you have any questions?
Ma'am, meron po akong question.
Yes, what is it, Luigi?
Yung pong sa nasunog, ma'am, kahit po ba yung, di ba ma'am, what if, binura po yung sulat tapos sinunog pa po, ma'am. Makikita pa po ba nun, ma'am?
Yes, makikita. Makikita
Sige po, ma'am. Thank you po.
Okay. Kasi charred na nga eh. Kahit nga tignan mo, 'di ba? Super na siya. Ayan. Tignan mo nga to, black na oh. Makikita pa rin 'yan. Ayan.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Ano pa? May tanong pa kayo? So, sayang wala lang tayo sa school pero pwede nating i-try sana 'yan. Okay, ito. I will just discuss your lab activity number 18. Okay. So, lab activity number 18, ang deadline nito, hindi naman agad-agad next week. 2 weeks ang deadline nito. So, sa inyo, ang deadline nito ay December 2. Tama ako? December 2 na siya. So, dun sa mga taga Quezon City, ang deadline nito ay December 3. So, 1 week after the exam. Ayan. So, paano bang gagawin dito? So, at the end of the activity, the students are able to discuss the differentiate and uses of infrared and ultraviolet photography. So, provide a sample photo taken with infrared and ultraviolet photography. Ma'am, paano namin gagawin yan kung wala naman kami infrared light and UV light? Kaya nga po, researchable lang sa internet. Madali lang to. So, describe how it is being used or how it helps in crime scene investigation. So, dalawa yan, ultraviolet photography and infrared photography. Paki-edit na lang po yung document, alisin yung photography na to, na double siya. Okay, so 3 example kay ultraviolet, 3 example kay infrared. Paano gawin, ma'am? So, punta kayo dito sa may sample. Sa sample, ilalagay nyo yung picture. Katulad ng pinakita ko sa inyo, yung meron siyang differences, diba? Picture at the left, picture at the right. Dun nyo ilalagay yung sample. Description, you will just describe kung ano yung nakikita dun sa evidence na yun. Ano yung, the photo at the left indicates na ganto ganyan. The photo at the right indicates that ganto ganyan. Tapos, the evidence. Ano po yung mga evidence, ma'am? You will just give a name for that evidence. For example, fingerprint on a glass. Ganon. Fingerprint on the candle. Ganyan. On a wax. Ganon. So, 3 example using ultraviolet photography. And find also an example using infrared photography. 3 po. May tanong kayo?
Wala po, ma'am.
Are you sure?
Wala naman po.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.